I'm Tammy. Standing in the middle of the Dawson farmhouse yard, I feel the weight of 30 years of secrets crashing down on me. My mother, Emily, stands a few feet away, motionless, her face as pale as the linen in her hands. In front of me is a man named Richard, a stranger who, just moments ago, showed me a photograph of a young woman that looked exactly like my mother. Richard, a man in his late 50s, with a head of silver hair and kind, tired eyes, tells me that the woman in the photo is his long-lost fiancée, Sarah. He claims she died in a bus accident 30 years ago. But I know that woman is my mother, Emily. As I look at Richard, I remember the first time I saw that photo in his office at the Floral Studio in Seattle. I had just landed a job at Brooks Floral Studio, hoping to start a new life away from my small town of Hood River. When I saw the photo of my mother, looking so young and happy, it was like a punch in the gut. Richard didn't believe me at first. He thought I was playing some cruel game. But I was determined to make him listen. I told him that my mother, Emily, was alive and well in Hood River, and that she had raised me alone. After some hesitation, Richard agreed to come with me to Hood River to see for himself. As we drove through the mountains, the silence in the car was heavy. We both knew that we were about to uncover a truth that had been buried for decades. Now, here we are, in front of the old farmhouse. When my mother sees Richard, the basket in her hand slips, and linens spill onto the damp grass. For a long moment, no one speaks. "Richard," my mother whispers, her voice breaking. "Is that you?" He nods, his expression a mix of disbelief and sorrow. "It's me, Emily. I thought you were gone." My mother's face goes pale, and she looks from Richard to me and back again. "You shouldn't have come here," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. I step forward. "Why, Mom? Why shouldn't we?" My mother's eyes flicker with fear, then resignation. "Because some things should stay buried." Richard shakes his head. "You let me think you were dead for 30 years. Tears well in my mother's eyes. She presses a trembling hand to her mouth. "It wasn't me. It was my mother. She hated you, Richard. She said you'd never give me a good life. When you left for that job in Portland, she made me promise to forget you. When she heard about that bus crash, she told me you'd been told I was on it. She made me swear never to contact you again. She said if I did, she'd tell everyone my child was illegitimate." My breath catches in my throat. "Your child? You mean me?" My mother nods. "Yes. I was already pregnant when he left. My mother thought shame was worse than heartbreak. I wanted to tell you the truth when you were old enough, Tammy, but every time I tried, I saw her face again, her threats. I thought I was protecting you from her world and from mine. I feel a rush of anger. You lied to me all my life." My mother flinches as if struck. "I did, and I hate myself for it every day." Richard takes a step closer, his voice rough but gentle. "We all lost too much time, Emily. There's no fixing that, but hiding from the truth didn't save anyone." My mother looks up at him, the man she'd loved, now older, with lines on his face that tell the story of a life filled with pain. Tears stream silently down her face. "You should hate me." Richard shakes his head. "No, I've done enough hating for one lifetime." I stand there, frozen between them. The weight of all these years of silence and lies presses down on me. But then, slowly, I step toward Richard. My hands are trembling as I reach for him, but he doesn't hesitate. He pulls me into an embrace, his arms strong and shaking all at once. "I missed your whole life," he murmurs against my hair. I whisper back, "You didn't even know I existed. But you're here now." My mother stands a few feet away, watching us through tears. The wind rises, carrying the scent of wet earth and apple blossoms. The laundry on the line flutters, the white fabric catching the light like ghostly flags of surrender. To understand how I got here, I have to go back to my life in Hood River. I grew up on a small farm, doing the same chores every day. My mother, Emily, was a strong-willed woman, but she was also overprotective. She was afraid of the outside world, always warning me about the dangers of leaving our small town. Every morning, I would wake up to the sound of the rooster crowing and the smell of damp soil. I would pump water from the well, just like I had done since I was a child. My mother would call out from the kitchen, "Don't feel it too much, Tammy. You'll hurt your back again." After breakfast, I would go to the small grocery store where I worked. The days were long and monotonous. I would stack shelves and serve customers, all the while dreaming of a different life. One day, a young man named Jack came into the store. He was around my age, with a kind smile and a twinkle in his eye. We started chatting, and for a brief moment, I felt a spark of joy. But my mother saw us talking and immediately put a stop to it. She scolded Jack and told him to leave. She said he was trouble, that all men were just after one thing. I was so embarrassed, standing there in front of all the customers. I felt like a child, being punished for something I didn't understand. That evening, I walked home slowly, my heart heavy. I confronted my mother about her actions, but she just said she was trying to protect me. She told me that if I got involved with a man like Jack, I would end up alone, just like she had. A few weeks later, my childhood friend, Lily, came back to town. She had moved to Seattle and was living the life I had always dreamed of. She told me about the city, the lights, the noise, and the endless possibilities. She invited me to come with her, to stay with her for a while and find a job. I was hesitant at first. I knew my mother would never let me go. But Lily's words kept echoing in my mind. "You have to live your own life, Tammy." That night, I lay awake in my bed, thinking about all the things I had missed out on. I thought about the highway stretching beyond the town, the line of trucks heading west. I thought about the freedom of distance. I made a decision. I would leave Hood River, without telling my mother. I packed a small suitcase, including an old photograph of my parents that I had secretly kept hidden. I wrote a note for my mother, telling her that I loved her but that I couldn't breathe here anymore. At 11:45 that night, I slipped out of the house. The night air was cold and damp, and the moon hung high above the orchard. I walked to Lily's house, my heart pounding. When I reached her driveway, she and her father were waiting for me. "Are you ready?" Lily asked gently. I nodded, clutching my suitcase. "I didn't tell her," I said, my voice cracking. Lily replied, "Sometimes leaving is the only way to stay alive." We got into the truck and drove away. As we turned onto the main highway, I looked out the window. The house was no longer visible, hidden behind the curve of the hill. But in my mind, I could still see it, the porch light flickering, the curtains drawn, the note waiting on the kitchen table. I wondered how long it would take for my mother to find the note. I wondered if she would ever forgive me. When we arrived in Seattle, it was like stepping into a different world. The city was alive with energy, with cranes and bridges and buildings that touched the clouds. People moved with purpose, fast, confident, untethered. Lily's apartment was small but cozy. At first, I was excited by the newness of it all. But as the days passed, homesickness began to creep in. I missed my mother, even though I was angry with her. I tried to find a job, but it was difficult. Everywhere I went, they said they were looking for someone with more experience. My hope was starting to fade. One day, I got a text from Lily. She told me to try a florist near Stewart Street. I went there and saw a sign that said, "Now hiring, no experience needed." I walked into the shop, and the scent of flowers hit me like a wave. It was a beautiful place, filled with vases of roses, lilies, and eucalyptus. A young woman at the counter greeted me, and I told her I was there to apply for the job. As I filled out the form, I noticed a framed photo on the wall behind the desk. My breath caught in my throat. It was a photo of a young woman who looked exactly like my mother. When I asked the owner, Richard, about the photo, he told me that the woman was his fiancée, Sarah, who had died in a bus accident 30 years ago. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I knew that woman was my mother. The rest, as they say, is history. Now, standing here in the yard of the farmhouse, I know that our lives will never be the same. The truth has been uncovered, and while it has brought pain, it has also brought the possibility of healing. Seattle has already slipped into autumn by the time I begin to feel at home again. The mornings are crisp, and mist rolls across the streets like soft breath from the sound. Every day, I walk to Brooke's floral studio beside Richard, who has insisted I call him Richard, not Dad, not yet. The shop has become my sanctuary. I've learned how to trim stems, match colors, and create beautiful arrangements. Richard has taught me everything with the patience of a man who knows how easily life can break. One evening, after closing, Richard disappears into the office and comes back holding the photograph. But this time, it's in a new frame, made of soft green wood, the color of fresh leaves after rain. He sets it on the counter between us. "I think this suits her better," he says quietly. I look at the picture, my mother's young face smiling from another lifetime. The dark border that once symbolized death is gone. The new frame feels alive, forgiving. Richard rests a hand on the counter. Some losses turn into gifts if we dare to face them. I smile faintly. "Do you think she'll ever forgive herself?" He takes a deep breath, then exhales slowly. "Maybe not fully, but she'll try. That's all any of us can do." The phone rings. Its sound is soft against the hum of the city outside. I pick it up, and when I hear my mother's voice, the ache that once lived in my chest no longer hurts the same way. "Hi, Mom," I say. "Hi, sweetheart," she replies. "I saw the first frost this morning. Remember how you used to try to catch it with your hands?" I smile. "I remember. I still can't believe you let me do that." She chuckles faintly. "You never listened anyway." We talk for a while about the weather, the flowers, small things that matter, only because they are shared. No tears, no accusations, just two women learning how to speak again after years of silence. When the call ends, I stand for a moment, the phone still in my hand, watching Richard adjust the lights by the window. The shop glows in soft gold and green. Petals glimmer like tiny lanterns. I feel it then, not triumph, not regret, but peace, the kind that comes only after truth has done its quiet work. That night, before leaving, I place a new photo beside my mother's on a shelf, one of Richard and me taken outside the shop. In it, we are both laughing, the sunlight catching our hair. For a long while, I simply stand there, staring at the two frames, the past and the present, side by side. Maybe forgiveness isn't something that comes all at once. Maybe it blooms slowly like the flowers we tend each morning. Fragile at first, then steady, then inevitable. As Richard turns off the last light, I whisper the words I've been carrying since that day in Hood River. The truth didn't change the past, but it changed everything about tomorrow. Outside, rain begins to fall, soft, cleansing, endless. Inside, the flowers keep their quiet vigil, and the green frame gleams faintly under the light, no longer a reminder of loss, but of love reclaimed.